It's a new week and it's a Monday. Welcome to The Pulse. I am Emefa Akosia Adeti. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra. We're also live on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 125 and across the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana Gold Board revokes all gold trading license issued under the erstwhile PMMC as the new license regime takes effect as the board goes relentless onslaught on illegal gold trading and smuggling. We have details as President John Mahama is set to inaugurate the new Gold Board Security Task Force, which will have police powers to combat illegal gold trading and smuggling. And as well on the Pulse, the minority in Parliament up in arms yet again against the Economic and Organized Crime Office, accusing state investigative body of weaponizing bail conditions to persecute former New Patriotic Party government appointees as former Buffer Stock Company CEO and wife remains in custody for failing to meet bail conditions. We have details plus provide an update on the case against former Geod MD Maxwell Kofi Juma, who is still in custody after he was arrested over the weekend.
And then also 4:30 a.m. this morning, they came with another pickup and picked him, then brought him to police headquarters, CID headquarters. So at the moment, we are at police headquarters in Accra with him, and then we are waiting for whatever actions supposed to be taken.
I'll also tell you about a suit by a private lawyer demanding that EOCO and other security agencies put arrested persons before court after 48 hours if they're unable to meet their bail conditions. And again on the Pulse today, schools shut down in Nkwanta following renewed clashes that have left 2 students dead.
Oh yeah, we have made the schools are closed down in Nkwanta town and its environment. Yeah, wherever these issues are happening, the schools have been shut down.
We'll bring you the latest update on that. And so, the Gucci Memorial Institute rules out a localized COVID-19 resurgence, contradicting Ghana Health Service claims. More as University of Ghana authorities meet health service on Tuesday over cases on campus.
To have a briefing from the University Health Services. So we have a meeting with them tomorrow.
Thank you for staying with us here on The Pulse. Please stay for details. Thank you for staying with us. We'll start with the OT region, where more families are fleeing escalating communal tension in the Nkwanta South municipality. Residents describe the security situation as deteriorating rapidly and fear for their lives. Reports indicate that the home of Achade Chief in Banache was set ablaze early Monday morning, resulting in at least 3 deaths. JoyNews' Peter Sen, who spoke with a family on the move, who said they have no specific destination. Meanwhile, the OT region, where the Regional Security Council has shut down schools in the area following renewed communal violence, the clashes have led 2 students dead and 3 others injured in separate incidents, one shot while in class and the other on her way to school. 10 people have been arrested so far in connection with the violence. OT Regional Minister John Kwejo Japon spoke earlier on Newsdesk.
It's cool now. When you talk about Nkwanta town, I think there's some peace there. Everybody is going about his work normally. Then in other areas, for now, haven't had bad news. So when it's about the current, I think the current situation is okay. There's no problem. We haven't taken anyway. But yesterday was a bad day. Yesterday was bad, where reports about 4 deaths in Nkwanta municipality. One person died in Kiri, and then 3 people were killed tonight. Yes, in the Oh yeah, we have made the schools are closed down in Nkwanta town and its environment. Yeah, wherever these issues are happening, the schools have been shut down. And when you come to Nkwanta, other businesses are also closed down their work. All the banks that work in Nkwanta are closed down. The system also closed down, and people are leaving the town, the municipality. Yeah.
Now, to tell you how serious this is, more families are fleeing escalating communal tensions in the Nkwanta South municipality. Our residents describe the security situation as deteriorating rapidly and fear for their lives. Reports indicate that the home of an Achade chief in Banache was set ablaze early Monday morning, resulting in at least 3 deaths. Peter Senu has been speaking with the family, which is on the move, and said they have no specific destination and will stay wherever they find refuge.
Baby, I don't need yes, I'm Anjania. Umbabe Kumi. I'm Yokiani. Okay. So, I know the best Afikrana said me qua Mekwa Konyaka Krebi. Send ye bear bent to Beshes of Betimiama, Tokwano Brass, na Ubiaranya Nuntiase, Nay Naya Sako Transia boom. And one a here, Entina, Junior free woman, Pesabia, Midina or now, Mabe Bomitua. Now, send me wounds are not my semi life. In tears a semi journey, Namitimi, who Nasa a bank of Patanco, Tokwano Nasa Dua, na Masanko, my cheek.
At the moment, our properties are being burnt. Our kings, our chiefs, they are burning their houses in Bunache. They burn our chief store in Nkwanta. They continue to burn a suburb of Nkwanta, Power. They are burning properties in Power. They burn motorking and rail motorbikes. They burn houses. Concombers burn houses. We saw them. This one, the former minister, who is a Concomba man, has declared that his people are not part of this conflict. And then the former minister, Machuto, is going in our communities, educating us that the concombers are not part of the conflict. But at the moment, we are seeing the concombers attacking our people, specifically Kerry, Power, and then Bunache, and they are killing our people as at this morning, as I'm speaking with you. That is our worry. Nobody is protecting our properties. When we have life, we can still make other properties again. So we have left the property for them to destroy. Our life first. That is why we are traveling out of Nkwanta Township. I'm
having 4 children. My sister too is having 2 children. My sister is admitted at hospital. He's not feeling well. It's 3 days now. So I cannot run without the children. So I have to take them all along with me. I'm just moving anywhere that anybody who will take care of me, I will get any place to sleep, I will go. Because you will be in the room, the way they are shooting, you cannot even sleep. We are in Nkwanta town before we run to the village. Now they are not attacking the villages. That is the reason why we are running away. Even shooting some of our people, so I have to run away. I don't know where my husband is now. I don't know, brother. No, when I call my husband, I don't even get him. Because everybody is running. So because I'm a nursing mother, I can't run without my children. So I have to take my children with me. Any place I will go, if I will die with my children. I'm pleading with the government to come to our aid. Let us stop the people who are doing that. Especially those who are wearing the military uniform. So you may see that one person wearing a uniform, you are running to the person will shoot you. Maybe when I see a military man coming, I was thinking that when I run to that person, I'll be rescued. But the moment I'm going, the person will shoot me. How sure that person is a military man? This is what has happened. Now we run to our villages. Now they are not attacking the villages. They are killing our peoples. So I have to run away with my children. Please, I'm called Helen.
Well, Peter Sedu is our OT regional correspondent and is just joining me with more updates. Peter, so let me know, let's do some numbers or figures. How many people so far have been killed in these renewed clashes?
MFR, as we speak, there is no official figure from the police as we know. But if we would count per our reports or sources on the ground, 3 people, they said, died this morning at Bonache, plus one of the students who passed away last week writing his exam. That should be 4 that we can work with. But we have not had any official communication from the security front as exactly to the numbers that have fallen as a result of this conflict.
I mean, because you have mentioned the security front, let me know, what is it like so far in Nkwanta district? Do you have security personnel presence there?
So, but security presence has been on the ground since, I think last year or last 2 years. And in fact, last night, we've witnessed the passing of some military men still into the Nkwanta area. And so we would want to believe that security is being beefed up by the day. But what the minister said has some truth, that the fight is happening at the outskirts of the Nkwanta town itself. And so some of them may be happening at the blind side of the security personnel who are to take charge of the situation there. And so as and when it happens, they would move to salvage the situation. But so that is what is happening. But for security, I can say that security men are on the ground, the police, the military, to salvage the lives and property as and when necessary.
I mean, you talk of it's not happening particularly in the Nkwanta township, but its environs. Have you been able to measure the response time or rate, because the personnel are not at the environs, but they are in the Nkwanta township itself? How swift are they able to respond if there is any clash?
Yes, that is a difficulty, especially what is alleged to have happened at Bonache this morning. In fact, from Nkwanta town to Bonache, the road is terrible. So definitely it will take the military or the security personnel an amount of time to drive to that location. And it's about 20 or more minutes drive from Nkwanta town to that location. So if anything happens within this time period, a lot would have gone wrong before their presence on that location. And so they may be doing their best, but the terrain may be rough for them to navigate to get to the various destinations as and when they are called upon to. MFR.
So, Peter, for families that we have just seen, how many of such families do you think are fleeing? Is it quite serious, or these are just the families that we're just reporting?
From what I know and I have seen, it is a serious situation that a lot more families are living the Nkwanta area. If I talk about workers, and this is just a family I just chanced on doing my normal round. They were initially stopped by the police, and then their accounts were not making up to the police. So I would have to trace them down to Jessica to have this interview done with them. And so if I stopped them earlier, they were afraid to stop midway, and so I have to drive to town to explain myself, identify myself properly before they granted me this interview. So it may not be one-off thing. This is what is happening currently from Nkwanta. Families are fleeing, especially as they have alleged that the actualists are under siege by other tribes. That is what they are alleging. So if this is true and anything to go by, a lot more families, in fact, we see the cars pass by every day loaded with bags, and then the police are also interacting with them. But I just interacted with some police authorities in and around Jessica this afternoon, and they have also corroborated that a lot more families are passing every minute, and then they have to interact with them as and when they stop to inspect where they are going. MFA.
Well, Peter, I know that this afternoon you reported, and as well the regional minister mentioned that schools have been shut. And what's the situation? Complete shut, partial shut, every school in and the Nkwanta environment, is that it?
Yes, in fact, complete shutdown of school, especially within the Nkwanta South, the municipal capital itself. Talk about the schools are in session, and then towns that are further away, we have schools in session. But Nkwanta municipality proper, which is the municipal capital, schools are shut down completely. And then this is the time that third years writing their WASI are preparing feverishly to write their final exams, and in the midst of all these things, their preparations, we see all these things rear its ugly head. And so well, for me, authorities will have to stamp their feet on the ground and make sure that the education of these younger ones are not unduly disrupted due to. In fact, if this continues, it means that a lot more of them will have to move to other centers to write their exams, which may not be comfortable, one, for the students and for maybe government, who would have to look for accommodation for these young ones and also feed them. And so there are, in fact, wider reaching effects of this conflict than what is currently happening in Nkwanta. MFA.
All right, so we've just talked about education. Let's talk about the other sectors. What is it looking like in the hospitals? What's it looking like in the banks, the marketplaces? Helen, who you just spoke to, that family woman who says she's a nursing mother, accounts that her sister is in the hospital. Do we have health workers over there providing the services, or they are as well fleeing?
In fact, the health workers, teachers, as I know and have seen some of them, they are almost all fleeing in Nkwanta Township. As we may have reported earlier, only a few departments in the 2 hospitals in there are working. In fact, those on admission will have to be taken care of. They cannot discharge them. But those departments that may not necessarily require admission of patients and other critical services, workers are leaving and the departments are being empty. We can only pray that the situation is calmed down for workers to return. Banks are also folding up from the area, and this definitely will affect the economic lives of the people in and around the Nkwanta municipality.
Right. Do you know whether the security have announced different measures they're using to curb the situation, or it's business as usual?
Well, we are not told, not that we can report off now, but we should believe that they are able enough to contain this situation from getting out of hand. MFI.
Thank you so much, Peter. Detailed report over there. But still on this matter, let's speak to Daniel Thanyi, and especially because WASSCE exams is just nearly in a month, and we want to know what the GES will be doing at least to help the students who are not in class currently, and he speaks for GES in that sector. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Daniel. Or if you would like, Mr. Thanyi, what's GES doing at least to curb the situation? Of course, we know that WASSCE should be starting shortly.
Indeed, MFA, I should say that ever since the issue of the conflict broke out, we have had extensive conversation with the headmaster of the school, Solomon. We have engaged the district directorate, we have engaged the regional directorate, to understand what exactly is happening and how the way forward looks like. Of course, this matter borders strongly on security, so we are not able to delve into the technical security issues. However, we can assure our students and we can assure our teachers as well that we are currently having plans, discussing issues, and looking at how best they can write their WASSCE in the safest of environment possible. We know that the conflict, if it festers for some time, would interfere strongly in the writing of the WASSCE, especially in Nkwanta Township, where we are learning that we have 3 senior high schools, and so 3 senior high school students will be writing the WASSCE. But definitely, if the conflict persists, then that means they wouldn't be able to write in Nkwanta Township. So meetings are ongoing, discussions are ongoing, and we hope to finalize our discussions as soon as possible to come out with the modalities on where, how, when our children can write the WASSCE. But the assurance they can get from us as Ghana Education Services that they won't miss the WASSCE. We are putting in place every measure to ensure that they write the WASSCE with their colleagues all across the country. And we are making sure that, this conflict goes beyond them. So they can't be punished for what they didn't cause, or they can be punished for what they are already victims of. And so I can assure them that they will not miss the WASSCE examination.
Right, Daniel, thank you for that assurance. So if I hear you well, it looks as if you're at least coming up with a way, some modalities which these students or these candidates can take the exams. But before that, it's a month away. And of course, I've been a student before. There still will be tuition. There will still be classes. Will this mean that the GES is not considering that time frame and what they need to be doing in preparation ahead, and the focus is on the exam taking only? Or you're considering that as well?
Of course, we are. In fact, this is a very, very tempting moment for our learners, for our teachers, and for WAEC, the examination body. So we are in constant touch with all the important stakeholders in this to ensure that our learners would have good time to revise, because we know they are in the revision stage. In fact, the report we got was that one of our students got hit by a bullet and even pronounced dead when they were in the middle of writing their mock examination. So currently we know our students are in preparation, are writing mock examinations. Some are revising their books, some are revising their textbooks. Teachers are supporting them. I mean, these are the final laps of the academic journey. And so this is a very serious times for us. What we can assure our learners is that for the examination, we are putting in place all measures.
Right.
I can also confirm to you that the schools have closed down. We hope that as learners go home, it gets difficult when they are in their individual homes. It gets difficult for their teachers to reach them individually to teach them.
Yeah.
However, we are currently planning on how best we can still support our learners in such period whilst they are revising, and then going forward, how best they can write the examination, the WASI examination, in the safest of environments and with a sound mind.
Right. Do we have any timelines as to when we'll hear from GES at all?
You should expect some modalities to be rolled out in the course of the week. As we talk, I know management is currently organizing themselves to structure some time frames, to structure how the whole examinations and their revision period should go and all that. So in the course of the week, we should be expecting that management of the Ghana Education Service will come out with the modalities that will inure to the benefit of our learners and then our teachers as well.
Thank you so much, Daniel Fengi. He's PRO for Ghana Education Service. Now, still on conflicts, efforts to resolve the protracted Bawku chieftaincy conflict have resumed as the Asantehene 2432 II engages the Kusat faction at the Mensha Palace. This is part of renewed dialogue to end decades of violent clashes between the Kusasi and Mamprisi factions over the rightful occupancy of the Bawku skin. Sources at the Mensha Palace indicate that today's meeting will focus on hearing the concerns of the Kusak leadership, gathering proposals for peaceful coexistence and charting a path towards lasting reconciliation. Now, Washi Yadom has been following the story and has been giving updates.
They are not the very last faction to meet the Asantehene, but this is one of the largest factions in the conflict that are supposed to sit with the Asantehene this morning, this afternoon, while they find a lasting solution to the protracted conflict in Bawku.
And so you say they have arrived. Do we know how long they're staying in Kumasi or the Ashanti region?
Well, we are looking at between today and tomorrow, but sources at Mensha Palace confirmed that it is going to be a very brief engagement today because they arrived in Kumasi today, and then probably tomorrow they are going to have the extensive conversation. All of these is to make sure that the mediation process yields results. So it's going to be not sort of a long stay, but a very short one for them in the next 2 days in Kumasi. In the previous engagement between the Mamprisi faction and the Kusasi faction, when they were here around the April 28th, we realized that the leadership alone was allowed to come into the palace. There were strict security restrictions given to them not to come along with their residents or probably supporters. So when we talk of leadership coming in, they are identified as the traditional council members and then the chiefs in the area. And so these are the people that constitute the leadership of the factions that are supposed to meet the Asantehene today. Tight security at the Mensha Palace. anytime there is this form of engagement, you realize that these factions, although they are well situated in Bawku, they have some of their members or their people in Kumasi. And so sometimes we have their supporters come in with them, troop in with them. So almost every time they come in their numbers, but it is their leadership that are permitted into the inner perimeter of the palace.
Away from that, presidential advisor on the 24-hour economy, Goosie Tanoh, has revealed that the Secretariat will require $4 billion over 5 years to fully implement the policy. He noted that the government will provide $300 million in seed funding to be disbursed in tranches to kickstart the rollout. The 24-hour economy was a key campaign promise by the NDC in the run-up to the 2024 elections. 6 months into the new administration, the government is set to officially launch the policy on July 2. Speaking to the press ahead of the launch, Tanoh outlined the funding needed to unlock the policy's full potential.
Of 24-year-olds and 69-year-olds. So we've more or less covered the breadth of the generation that is the working people of Ghana. And this program is actually designed, one, as a citizens program, not a partisan program. Two, it is designed as a living document to be adjusted, improved, as the experiences of implementing the program teach us the lessons that redirect us to essentially achieve the objectives of transformation, supply chain and markets efficiency, human capital development, and a responsiveness through training, through education of the Ghanaian worker to the digital economy and its emerging transformation of societies. We spoke to almost everybody that we should speak to in relation to those who are particularly in the private sector, in the development finance institution milieu, commercial banks, and many others. I believe that, if I'm not wrong, we've spoken to more than 250 individuals or institutions. And so the work of the 24-hour economy is really the work of many, and not just a few from the Secretariat that you see here. And I believe that at the appropriate time, tomorrow, you'll see the list of the individuals who participated. I'm afraid I have to accuse Bernard because he's the cause of all this trouble that got me to the presidential advisory position, which was sparked off by the last interview we had before the national elections. But basically, if you want to run a 24-hour economy, then you must have capacity utilization that allows you to implement a three-shift economy. You must have levels of production output. You must have qualitative products that are accepted and wanted by the market, and you must be price competitive. Don't forget that we spend almost $3 billion importing food. If you go into the details of what we import, you will discover that most of that food can be delivered by our farmers and our manufacturers in the food and beverage sector. The most important thing is that we achieve the levels of competitiveness, output growth that supports industry and supports also our traders so that they can export. NASA will give us a detailed presentation, but the ethos of this program is that, our Ghanaians, we must be tired of being poor and being described as poor when we have such vast resources and also the potential for an extraordinarily improved human capital that will drive this program. The program is principally a private sector program, and we believe that the private sector, both domestically and internationally, will step up to the investment opportunities that are created by the program and indeed by government's overall economic policy. Because one thing that is always important to remember is that no matter, particularly in our circumstances, no matter how much integrity, consistency, and stability we are able to achieve at the macro level, the support for reinforcing that macro stability must be growth at the enterprise level. And that is what this program is designed to achieve.
Now, let's explore this a bit further. And joining me on Zoom this afternoon is Richard Ahiagba of the NPP. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And so you have heard what the government spokesperson on a 24-hour economy advisor has just said. We need $4 billion for the year period, the years in which they're going to be implementing the 24-hour economy. Of course, they're also making available a seed fund of $300 million. First of all, what's your reaction to this?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. I think it's a good thing that we undertake 24 hours to help grow opportunities for young job production, because I come accept that the manner we promised is being communicated is wrong, is deceptive, and now we're faced with a reality that certainly the NEC cannot implement the 24-hour economy as it said. We told them, and we actually did draw attention to this, that it's not realistic. Economies or cities that implement 24-hour economy, there are propensities that they leverage. You don't create it. There are tendencies already of your economy that you leverage. So there is demand for certain products or lines of products to be made, and you leverage that demand to be able to expand capacity to meet the demand. But you don't just out of thin air that you're going to do 24-hour economy, and this is where we are now. So unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that it was a make-believe promise. Now they cannot create that demand. The demand is not there. And so this is what this is about. So they are saying that they need $4 billion to create a certain demand. And the question is, where are you going to find it? Because it's not tied to anything. You understand? What is the cause of your policy? There is no cause. There's no problem that is trying to solve. So I think that we need the government to come out clear. They say that they deceived us, but somehow they can find certain opportunity, maybe in agriculture, increase opportunity for agro production, and therefore around that, engage in some processing of agri products, and then we can leverage the sub-region and then other opportunities within the agro space to try and increase exports, which then will then feed more production, and then maybe somehow we can be able to create the opportunity for more production because of demand.
Okay, so for you say that, well, the idea, the policy itself is a good thing, but you think that, just like what economists have said, that there must be some equilibrium, demand and supply, but we don't have the demand, and so it's not a feasible policy to implement. Is this what I hear you say?
Yeah, so certainly the demand was not there, and we're talking about it, but that is not to say that finding ways to create demand is not bad. It is bad, really, because what I guess the government should have promised would be to say that we're going to find ways to invest in agriculture, such that because of this increased production, there will be a need to process that. Then you create the processing capacity, or they will invest in expanding new markets, products that are made in Ghana. So Ghana, we're known for producing cocoa, so they will invest in ways that will increase our production, cocoa production, then processing of cocoa, which is a global product that will be in demand. So if they had said that, instead of just telling us 24-hour economy, and 24-hour economy in most countries, it actually revolves around nightlife. So things to do with restaurants to do with place of, entertainment and things like that. Those are the more, situations that lend themselves to the full economy, and maybe in some productive sectors where there are natural demand for such products, then you can do that. But with the promise should have been that they will leverage opportunities for us to produce more, which then would have been a more realistic promise. But the idea that they're going to introduce a 24-hour economy in Ghana, which was deceptive from day one, but somehow the media romanced it and make it become a thing. Unfortunately, they are faced with the reality, and this 4 billion thing is just a big excuse that we can't do it. And then somehow they don't want to say we can't do it. So when they say 4 billion, you then tend to believe that because they can't find the 4 billion, they can't do it. But it's just an admission that it's not a feasible promise, and somehow they have to have a soft landing for themselves, which is to say that we need 4 billion.
Is that the impression you get because of the amount that's quoted? It is for over a period, they say, and then they have also made available the seed funding. And you say that the amount involved at least gives them the opportunity or an escape route. Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah, absolutely. If I just imagine 4 billion and say they are making a seed money available of 300 million, is that it?
Yes.
Just look at it. What is the ratio? Totally inadequate. So it's just a soft landing to say that we made our promise, we can't do it, but somehow the price tag tells you that they can't do it, and this is just a big excuse to say that they can't do it. But, the truth is that we need the opportunity for young. The New Patriotic Party give it a choice. We're going to expand the one district, one factory. Maybe they should go back to that, create opportunity. Actually, where I am, I'm coming from my farm. You see potential across the country. There's lands and lands upon land. The NDC promised a farmer center. That's something that is needed now. Provide that opportunity for farmers, implement mechanized opportunities for people to have mechanized farms. That would drive production of agro products. So
they've indicated that they will share the modalities a bit later, or during the launch or after the launch, and then we can look at it critically. But commentary prior to the media engagement today will mean that they are largely inviting private sector. And so, of course, they have mentioned the 4 billion, but does this mean that it must come from government directly? Wouldn't it be like business where an interested party would also have to make some sort of investment commitment at all?
Yeah, well, but as a private business, what will be your motivation? If there's no demand for you, you can't just produce and house it, right? Like multimedia, for example. If you don't have listenership in a certain language, you don't start a new program for that, right? The listener start a program in a certain language because we have listeners. If we don't, you won't do that. So if a private person will not just start up business for government about 24-hour economy. They must commercially for them. Whatever product they want to increase and produce overnight must have a the production. Otherwise, just do the hours, which then demand to be able to supply. So don't produce it because government wants to do. So this thing was not a typical concept they won. And as I indicated, the media, somehow you romanced it. You made it, something that our people bought into, but otherwise it's not. What we have practical solutions. And I was just submitting to you that the one district, one factory proposal is good. Let's build from there.
It's about the one district, one factory. Were you going to do differently if you were elected into power?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. The industrialization is based on comparative advantage. So every district where they have comparative advantage to produce certain commodity, government invest, enable that comparative advantage to grow. And once they produce, there will be natural off in the environment. You meet demand, then the excess export.
This comparative advantage will then mean that in that district, there's some form of demand that existed already, or you are now going to create a demand.
Not necessarily that the demand the demand for all sorts of things exists in the country. And then for every export, it begins from domestic. You first of all produce to meet the domestic demand. Today, we are importing tomatoes, we're importing rice, we're importing maize, and all sorts of things. So when you go to Upper West, in the Sisala areas, they have comparative advantage to produce high quality maize. Why don't you invest in that area and make sure that they produce so much rice that we have excess after we meet domestic demand? Then that excess we export. That is the model. That is the model that will work. So this whole political thing that it did over 24-hour economy was bogus to begin with. As I said, the media romanced it, you made it become a thing, and everybody believed it. Now here we are, the reality has hit. The price tag, 4 billion. I mean, it's just a big excuse that we can't do it. It's 4 billion. It's a big excuse.
So you don't think that this 4 billion, the government can raise it, whether directly or indirectly?
But they can't raise money enough to meet their demand, their domestic project that they want to do. The big push, they said they were 10 billion, and they provided less than 10% of the funds they needed. And the 4 billion they are saying, the economy is not in a place to be able to cough up that amount. And right where we are, they can't do it this year. Now they're saying 4 billion. We told you this. And so next year budget, for 10 billion, they got less than 10%. So another 4 billion. Add that to their 10 billion big push, 14 billion. Where are they going to find that money from? So it's a big lie. And all of these things they are doing is a skirmish to just tell you we can't do it, and they'll blame it on the money not being available. The question is that when you're making the promise, didn't you see the potential? Didn't you see the opportunity for the money to do it? And we told you that this was a lie from beginning. And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
Right. If you'd stay with me, and I'll bring in Dr. Kojo Opoku. He is an economist, Senior Research Fellow, CSPS at the University of Ghana. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us today. And so you have just been hearing from government says that it will need $4 billion over the 5-year period in implementing the policy to its fullest. It is also made available $300 million as seed funding. Let's look at the feasibility of that total amount in the 5-year period. Is this feasible? Doc, if you can kindly unmute. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. So if you could know the entire soup that the 24-hour economy is going to cook, then definitely we will be able to assess whether the equivalent of 40 billion Ghana cedis will be able to do that job. But before they give us that detail so that we can really assess it well, I think that our economy is capable of, getting $4 billion for 4 years. That means on average every year, $1 billion, which is about 10 billion Ghana cedis. So that's not anything that we cannot get. But the key question is about the clear motives of the 24-hour economy. I think as a policy strategy, we are basically starting from a wrong. When the policy conceptually, when you are conceiving the policy and it is wrong, it makes everything that you add on becomes very difficult for people to appreciate it. So from economics point of view, when I listened to them, I could sense that they want to deal with employment issues.
Okay.
So that should be the key issue, that there's unemployment, youth unemployment, adult unemployment, even elderly unemployment in the economy. So you want to solve it. Then you sit down and bring a strategist to look at it. But here we are thinking about how can we, as Mr. Hayaba talked about it, we are thinking about how to shift some of the economy to the night, to 24 hours. What is the big deal if you employ all the youth and they work 8 hours from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? What is wrong with that? So once you are not able to conceive it well, you bring a lot of policies and the policies cannot work and you don't get the results. So that is the thing that we should be thinking about. And besides there is also policy inconsistencies. No, I think all of you, the media, everybody is happy that the city is appreciating, the government is happy, everybody is happy. But this is actually contrary to the thing of creating employment to your people. You are already suffering because you are not competitive. Your electricity prices are so high that businesses cannot produce and compete in the international market. Even the local, when they are imported from outside, like rice, they imported from China, Japan, or Vietnam, or US, when they have imported, pay transportation costs and everything, it is still cheaper than the local rice. And you are helping them by making your export and your import cheaper by making sure that exchange rate is appreciated. And here you are making people lose employment, and you are thinking of how are you going to solve. If you cannot help your in-law, why should you also help the other person as well? The people, your own people, you cannot subsidize, you cannot help them. US people are subsidized for their families. You cannot help your people, and you are reducing their import that comes in the prices so that people will just strong it and import. So you can see that clearly there is policy inconsistencies. People just are doing things, they don't consider the overall effect of the actions that you take. So if we are actually sitting down and actually write down the policy that we are going to do, accept critiques and what we are going, probably we will not need that kind of even the 40 billion Ghana cedis amount that you need. You may not even need that, right? Because once your policy is right, maybe few amount that you can use to subsidize some companies that probably deals with importation of maybe foreign input and other things, amount that you can use to subsidize those amounts, not all a big amount to do what. So as I said, we don't know the entire thing that we are going to do, but from the starting point, I think the motive is not clear.
Okay.
Just to give work in the 24-hour or whatever it is.
Doc, let's stay at the starting point because that's where you have just landed your point. So they want to start with $300 million. Is this enough to at least start with a good momentum?
Well, I believe that they have done their mathematics and economics to understand that for the 4-year period, they need $4 billion. And if you need such amount and you start with, for the 4-year period and you start with $300 million, that is actually woefully inadequate because that is about how much is it? Less than 10% of the amount that you need. Less than 10% of the amount that you need. So how are you going to, for the first, remember we are already, first half of the year is gone. So how much, maybe, I don't know the media budget, if it's going to be, so the first year is practically gone. And the next 3 years, you are going to be, so if you look at the quantum, the amount that we need for this, according to their calculation, that needs to deliver the 24-hour economy and the amount that they now have ready to give, then you can see that there is a little bit challenge in that. It is very difficult to look at how much they need and how much they are woefully inadequate.
Well, so they mentioned that, of course, it will be in tranches. How, if I understand that, of course, they said they are going to release the modalities for us to understand. But are there any pros and cons in a policy such as this one, where funding is released in tranches? Is it a good business and economic move, or you anticipate some challenges?
No, sure. So the key challenge is basically on remember that we are coming from a situation where we have bedeviled, we have demonized government spending. And so the key challenge is that would government accept to create fiscal deficit to achieve this? Remember, the revenue side is usually very difficult to increase it. When you remember when they're even trying to increase tax, people are agitating against it. And it's because of how the current government, when they were in position, how they opposed every tax reform that the previous government was trying to bring up. So now there's a key challenge in raising revenues. And if you can't raise revenues, it means that if you want to do this thing and do it well, then you need to create fiscal deficit. And are they ready to go by that? Because it has been demonized that if you come into government and you have deficit, then you are not a good government. I mean, you heard of excessive borrowing and all those kind of things. And so for giving tranches, I mean, paying tranches, in fact, for this multi-year project, definitely that's what you're going to do. In fact, even World Bank project and all those, they won't give you the money on a go, but tranches, basically what you have achieved, they know that at this stage you have completed at this stage, then we give this amount to add on. So that's fine. But the problem is that are we ready to be what they call it on code, physically in discipline to achieve this? Because once you create fiscal deficit above 5%, they say you are indisciplined, you are excessive borrowing, or reckless borrowing, and all manner of things. So are they ready to be a little bit reckless to achieve this good policy, as you know now?
Well, Doc, finally, finally, and in wrapping this conversation, do I still have Richard Ahayagba with me? I may have lost him, but Doc, before I let you go,
I'm here.
All right, okay, I'll come to you for your final words after you have heard Doc. But Doc, do you think that the country, its infrastructure, everything that you need, electricity, road, all the things, all the variables that you need to at least, the policy is here to implement it, from where you sit, an overview of it, as a country, are we really ready for 24-hour economy?
So, as I said from the beginning, I was talking about fiscal deficit, but the huge part is what we have is the real sector deficit. And this could include human development deficit, education and health sector. For your people to be able to work and produce well, their education level, their health level should be that high. Infrastructure deficit, but when you hear of deficit, we only talk about fiscal deficit. Sometimes you need to create deficit from one side in order to be able to make up another way. So for example, when you even Accra here, if you have not traveled anywhere, Accra here, when you are driving around, you can see clearly a challenge of, infrastructure deficit, road. And you see our electricity prices, everything, they all not allow us to compete. That's why in places in my villages, when it is some season, the tomatoes prices and many other things are very cheap over there. By the time it gets to Accra, the price is very expensive because our road network is not good. So by the time the trader bring 4 trucks to Accra, maybe 3 of them are spoiled on the road and the food stuff will get spoiled. So they have to put all of these things. And so you need a coordinated way to solve this problem before you think about competing in it. And in that way, if you cannot compete at the moment, you just have to make sure that even what you produce, you give it to your domestic sector. I heard of Mr. Ahayagba talking about. So your domestic sector has to start so that you can develop your scale economy for the producers or industry to be competitive.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc. I'm sure we'll wait for the modalities and then we'll probably come to you again so that you can break it down even further for us. But Richard, if you're with me, you'd have the last word.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I agree by and large with Doc. But, we need to interrogate even further. What are they going to use this 4 billion for? Because really right now you have an import deficit. Okay, we have a big deficit in terms of export and import. We import more than we export. So this 24-hour economy, you can stimulate it simply from policy. What are they going to spend the $4 billion on? We import everything from toothpaste to maize and the rest of tomato, onions, and all of that. From policy, you can stimulate. And then, Trump came in and all the tariff he's brought and all of those things is protectionism. It's protecting the American market. Where we can go through Parliament and put in policies that would help, and put tariff on the things that we can produce here that have been imported quite simply and easily, toothpick and the rest of those things that people go to China and bring all manner of things here. You can stimulate the economy by just through policy so that the demand for them would exist because it cannot be brought from outside. If it cannot be brought from outside, then the demand must be met. So agencies and businesses that are in that space would now be stimulated to employ more people to produce such things. So that, I don't think, requires 4 billion. So
thank you. I'm starting again, and as I've told Doc, we'll wait the launch and wait for the modalities as well. But thank you for joining us, gentlemen, here on The Pulse. You're watching The Pulse. With me, Emefa Akosia Adeti. You want to stay with us a small after this? You're watching The Pulse, and thank you for staying with us. Now, this afternoon, it was officially announced that all gold trading licenses previously issued by the now defunct PMMC have been revoked and are no longer valid as the new license regime under the Ghana Gold Board takes full effect. The Gold Board had extended the deadline multiple times to allow gold dealers to register under the new Ghana Gold Board Act, which came into force in April. Addressing journalists, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, confirmed that the new license regime is fully operational with over 200 licenses already approved.
The new Gold Board licensing regime has taken full effect, and that effective immediately. Only a Ghanaian who has gone through the lay-down due process and has been issued with a license by the Ghana Gold Board can legally engage in gold trading in Ghana. What that simply means is that if you are not licensed by the Ghana Gold Board, you are committing a crime if you buy gold or you engage in any form of gold trading. All the previous licenses that various traders involved in gold trading had from the defunct Precious Minerals Marketing Company, PMMC, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources have all been revoked by the Ghana Gold Board Act. And we will no longer continue to respect those licenses. So whereas we allowed various stakeholders to buy gold, to trade gold with their previous PMMC licenses or licenses to deal in gold issued by the minister responsible for mines, same is not the case as we speak today. That legal regime has come to an end.
Kweku Asante was at this news conference and joins us with some details. I call him Kweku Asante International or Global. So Kweku, we're told that the president is set to inaugurate a new tax board and what their core mandate will be to be policing smuggling and the trading of it.
Exactly. The big question people are asking is, you just heard Sami Jemfi announce that the old regime has been phased out. And so how exactly are they going to police the system and ensure that people who are not licensed to trade are not doing so? They've now set up a Gold Board task force under the Gold Board Act, which will have the powers of the police. They will act like the Ghana Police Service or any other security service for that matter. They will have some members of the police force as well as the military joining in to do this. And the president is going to inaugurate that next week, and they are going to have full force to be able to go out there and take out persons who are engaging in smuggling and also illegal trading of gold. Listen to Sami Jemfi on this matter.
Those who are hell-bent on trading illegally without a license, we are serving notice that we are coming after you. On the 8th of July, His Excellency the President, on whose vision the Gold Board has been established, will commission a very important unit of the Ghana Gold Board. Very important program, because on that day, the President will outdoor this new security task force, who have the same powers as police officers and who have been given a special and specific mandate to help the state combat and defeat the phenomenon of gold smuggling, the canker of gold smuggling, the canker of illegal gold trading, and price disruptions that deprive the state of the needed revenue, the needed profits, the needed forex for our economy and the development of our country as a whole. And this task force will be driven by an intelligence unit that we have already deployed across the country, gathering information on the activities of all smugglers and illegal gold traders. We know you. You are not in hiding at all, because your cover is blown. We know who you are. So you better do the needful and stop the illegal gold trading you're engaging in and the gold smuggling, and come for a license and do your business as a responsible citizen and contribute to the development of Ghana. Aside the intelligence unit would be the investigative unit under this task force, as well as the Gold Board Tribunal provided for by the Gold Board Act, which will be established before the 8th of July.
Well, on this matter now, Kweku, if you talk about illegal mining in this country, I dare say that it's become cancerous. We're only providing palliative care.
Exactly. Where
when they set up a task force, it will also give birth to something else that we now have to fight. So how does the Gold Board intend to check this task force at least so they don't go about extorting?
In fact, Sami Jefi makes the same point that you've just made. He actually references the issues with illegal mining and some of these task forces actually going there to worsen the problem they are sent there to fix. How they are going to fix this is to affix all persons under the task force with body cams. Whichever operation they go, they would have to go with these body cams. Whatever they do, they would have to be recorded live on camera. Legend Sami Jefi himself lay out the modalities they put in place to ensure that this task force does not turn into another body that will be extorting from traders and disrupting the space.
And to ensure that the members of the task force we are going to deploy with so much powers will not end up betraying the state, abusing their powers, engaging in extortion, bribery, and the rest, and encouraging the very vice they are supposed to fight. Because like you said, we've seen it in other areas, particularly in the fight against illegal mining. So what have we done? We are deploying technology to ensure that we check the members of the task force. Now, the Gold Board Act prescribes that Gold Board inspectors and any task force that we put in place, they cannot go to anybody's office, to audit them or to check what they are doing, okay, without a written warrant signed by the Chief Executive Officer. So you can't be on a frolic on your own, gallivanting around Ghana and harassing miners and gold buyers and all that because you are a member of the Gold Board Task Force. You need a written warrant. And if a member of the Gold Board Task Force or a Gold Board inspector comes to you without a written warrant signed by the Chief Executive Officer, you must report him to be sanctioned. Again, the officers that we are deploying, at all material times when they are embarking on field operations, must wear their bulletproof vest, which will have fixed on them body cams. Their vehicles, which we are procuring, also has trackers, GPS trackers. And we have a command center. We'll have a command center at our head office to monitor their operations, meaning that everywhere the Gold Board Task Force will be at any material time, we will know sitting here in Accra.
Well, that's quite interesting and refreshing to hear. Well,
let's hope they carry that out.
I hope so too. I look forward to seeing somebody with a body cam that I know exactly what they are doing, right? But let's talk about the new norm. Currently, the government of Ghana says that they intend to deport foreigners if they are engaged in illegal mining. The Gold Board seems to be departing from that.
Exactly. Right? According to Sami Jefi, that is not exactly the plan they intend to follow. And that if you're a foreigner and you engage in illegal mining, you engage in gold smuggling, you engage in illegal gold trading, they will arrest you, they will keep you here in Ghana and prosecute you to the full extent of the law.
Because foreigners are not allowed to engage in gold trading anymore. I think that has become a broken record. Everybody knows that. Most of the foreigners have complied with the law and have left. Others are still hiding in their rooms, in Kumasi and Obuasi and other places, and we have picked intelligence on them, and in the coming weeks you see us raiding most of their hideouts and arresting them and seizing their gold and so on. And this time around we are not going to deport any foreigner. We are going to make sure that we prosecute the matters to the very end, because if Ghanaians will be prosecuted, then the situation cannot be different for foreigners who brazenly oppose it.
Now, away from the Gold Board, a confirmed outbreak of H1N1 has struck Enum Senior High School, with all 9 samples from the school testing positive at the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Furthermore, suspected cases have emerged at Bawku Secondary Technical School, where additional samples have been collected and are awaiting confirmation. Health authorities are monitoring the situation closely and have urged the public to remain vigilant. Now, let's go on Zoom and engage the Isejaman District Director of Health Service, Madam Rebecca Bante. Thank you for joining us, Madam. Let's get understanding what exactly this H1N1 is, first of all. Well, we don't have the health director yet, but if we do, we'll definitely get to know and understand exactly what this outbreak is. But let's bring in the District Chief Executive of Isejaman, Godwin Bobobi. I hope that I got the name very correctly. Thank you for joining us. So what's the situation really in your district? Mr. Bobobi, if you can unmute.
Oh, okay. Am I live?
Yes,
now?
you are. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, good afternoon to you. As you rightly said, we have a confirmed case of influenza. As the health people will put it, it's a H1N1 outbreak in Anum Senior High School. Somewhere last week, 25 samples were taken to Noguchi for testing, and 9 confirmed positive to have contracted the virus. As we speak, they are in isolation centers. Some are in the health center as well. And then you go to Bawku Secondary Technical. Samples have been taken from 44 students because they were also showing symptoms of the virus, coughing, fever, and all that. So 44 samples were taken and sent to Noguchi as well. We yet to have the results from the test of those samples. But let me say that we are safe and sound. Our health system here in the district is in safe hands. The district health directorates, to region, to national, they've responded so swiftly, and we've been able to mobilize the needed PPEs, the face masks, hand sanitizers, paper tissues, and Veronica buckets. And so, just to make sure that they are observing the highest standards of hygiene, hand washing, and the rest. So far, there's no reported case in the communities yet.
Okay.
The health authorities have activated their surveillance protocols in order that they can pick up such cases if it should happen in the communities. They are insisting that the students be isolated, and that parents should not panic to come for their children in order that they don't send the virus to the communities. So far, everything is under control.
Will you describe it as an outbreak yet?
That description came from the health authorities.
Okay.
But as they said, it's just a mild situation, and that it is not something that we should panic about. And that per their protocols, even if it should be one positive case, it will still be described as an outbreak.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned that the students who tested positive are in isolation, and this is under the care of the health providers, or they are isolating by themselves?
No, but under the care of health providers.
Okay. I mean, also...
I was at Anum yesterday, and then Bawku Secondary Technical. We have isolation centers. 3 rooms have been designated as isolation centers in each of these schools to manage the cases.
Okay, and so you say that the situation is under control. You also mentioned that PPEs and all the things that the health personnel will need you have provided so far.
Exactly. Right. We only urging that the students who adhere to the safety protocols, like putting on the face masks, washing their hands, sanitizing their hands, not going home. You know, some may want to go home. Students, some may want to go home because of this situation. But what the health people are saying is that if you are able to contain the situation in the schools for the next 2 weeks, if you're able to put on the mask and observe all the other protocols, yes, after 2 weeks, the virus naturally, dies off.
Right.
So that we all come back to normalcy.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bobobie, for joining us today and bringing us updates from the Isojama district. Now, away from that, Senior News Editor at the Kumasi unit of the Multimedia Group, Kofi Edu-Domfe, has been elected as the new Ashanti Regional Chairperson of the Ghana Journalists Association. His victory came after a keenly contested election held across the country to choose new regional and national executives for the association. Domfe, who is known for his strong advocacy for ethical journalism and climate change, will now lead the Ashanti Regional Chapter of the GJA after winning the 16 votes, while his opponent pulled 15 votes. In his campaign, Domfe outlined a 3-point vision focusing on continuous professional integrity, dignity in ethical practice, and accountability within the media fraternity in the region. He pledged to restore the association's credibility and build a more vibrant and inclusive media community in Ashanti. Speaking after his election, Domfe expressed gratitude to his colleagues for the confidence reposed in him and promised to work tirelessly to uplift the standards of journalism in the region. He will serve in the administration with the GBC's Nicholas Osewusu as Regional Vice President, Media General Beatrice Spiogabra as General Secretary, and Dr. Chris Abiana Sram as Treasurer. Edu-Domfe's election has been widely welcomed by journalists and stakeholders within the region, with many expressing optimism about the future of the association under his leadership. The elections were part of a nationwide exercise by the GJA to usher in a new crop of leaders at both national and regional levels to steer the affairs of the association for the next term. Meanwhile, well, congratulations to him, of course. Meanwhile, voting is underway in the Ghana Journalists Association elections, with both candidates and voters commending the calm and orderly nature of the process of polling centers. Many journalists participating in the exercise say they are impressed with the organization so far and remain hopeful for a credible outcome. GJA President Mr. Albert Kwabena-Dwumfour, who is seeking re-election, shared his impressions of the process in an interview with JoyNews.
Voting is underway in the Ghana Journalists Association elections, with both candidates and voters commending the calm and orderly nature of the process at polling centers. Many journalists participating in the exercise say they are impressed with the organization so far and remain hopeful for a credible outcome. GJA President Mr. Albert Kwabena-Dwumfour, who is seeking re-election, shared his impressions of the process in an interview with JoyNews.
From the beginning of my tenure or administration, I have enjoyed maximum cooperation and support from all of you. And so it will not be out of place if I said kudos and thank you all for all the cooperation and support so far. And let me quickly say that this has been the smoothness or the most smoothest process ever.
Officials from the Electoral Commission also confirmed that voting has been peaceful and professionally handled.
Okay, so far so good. Everything is on point. Okay, so we're expecting 303, and so far 78 have come to vote.
Voters say they are looking forward to results that will not only reflect the will of members, but also help advance press freedom and strengthen the association's role in promoting ethical journalism.
Well, we expect the leadership, the new leadership, if it's going to be retaining, it's going to be a change. Whoever is taking over should digitize processes, open opportunities for journalists to add value to themselves, find a way of dealing with the ownership of the media establishments to look at enhancing the remuneration of journalists, which at the moment is nothing to write home about, and to protect us against bad politicians who sometimes get overboard and maltreat us.
This afternoon on JoyNews Pulse, we catch up with two of the 2025 JoyNews Impact Makers Awards finalist Ikia Sapon, who supports over 2,000 families in cancer diagnosis, treatment, and psychosocial treatment or support, he says, and Eric Bwedi Sapon, who is making significant strides in education. Fresh from a night of inspiration and celebration on June 28th, they join us here to share what it means to them and what drives them. Well, I was hoping to show you a bit of essence, but Ika is here with me in studio. Okay, first of all, I was watching it, and then, before we even went on that day itself, for you to receive that award, each time your picture will come on the screen, I said, who is this powerhouse supporting this amount of support? How has it been for you so far since you won? It's been how many nights?
It's been two nights. 2 nights.
How are you feeling?
It's been great. Okay. People have been awesome. Congratulations keep coming through. Acknowledging what we're doing. It's nice.
Does it feel any different before winning? You know, when you're doing something and you don't feel like you're getting the needed support and recognition. Today, 2 days after you have been recognized and awarded, does it feel any different?
Well, it certainly does. I think to the extent that, now people can recognize the word childhood cancer in their vocabulary. That's good for us. And to, people will suddenly read more about it. There's a little bit more awareness on childhood cancer because of that, then yes.
Let me take a minute to hear your story. Why childhood cancer?
Why not? So in 2016, my little girl, she was 1 year, 3 months at the time, she got diagnosed with rhabdomyosarcoma, long and short of it. So how did we even find out? We didn't. Because we really didn't know the early warning signs, so we found out a little late. But we did the treatment, but childhood cancer journey is quite brutal. It's a very excruciating journey, a very lonely path for families to endure. So and she passed away after 2 years, thank you, after 2 years of long battles of hospital visits, chemotherapy, sickness, name it, we've been through it. And having gone through the journey and seen so many children who were not getting the support that they needed, at the time not covered under national health insurance, the survival rate is so low. We're losing children like it was going out of fashion simply because they couldn't afford it. They didn't know what they were looking for. We really don't understand the signs and symptoms of childhood cancer. Yeah. And I thought, really there has to be more to this life than just sitting around. So the pediatric oncology department at the time needed to create an avenue to be able to raise funding to support all the work they were doing. So that's how come I joined, and I pretty much ran with the organization. And 7 years on, that's where we are.
Congratulations once again. Really, really proud of you. And the psychosocial support that you provide, that bit, let me in on that bit as well.
So we do more than just psychosocial support. We're a fundraising organization, we're a patient organization, and we raise funds for the treatment and care of children with cancer. And as you may be aware, with children with cancer, it's not just the clinical side. So we support paying for chemotherapy drugs, we pay for the diagnosis of the children, including paying for CT scans, MRIs, and all that, surgeries, if that's what is needed. We also work with the non-medical side would be, let's say, the nutrition, because, you know, the children come up really sick, sometimes malnourished. And if you know anything about chemotherapy, it's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
So you need to ensure that they're well fed, you know, to be able to undergo the treatment. Cancer treatment can be very long, and also because of chemotherapy, they get very immunocompromised. You know, the immunity is always down, and it goes down, you have to build them up. So they're not able to go to school. So if the treatment is, let's say, for 3 years, they would miss a good 3 years of
my goodness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very important to support them in their education. So we have hospital schools. So while they're in the hospital, they'll be able to, you know, we do art therapy classes with them. If the child has been sick for 3 years, then of course the mother would have to be there to stay through. Yeah. So the first lady, the former first lady, bless her soul, built us a hostel,
right?
A 54-bed. So our parents who are, our families who are out of Accra, able to stay there. Of course, we need to support them in their feeding, their living care. If you have to do it for 3 years, you have no job to go to. So we also do skills development training for the mom. So we pretty much do the whole spectrum to ensure that the mother, the child, the family gets all the support they need to be able to carry on with the treatments and get a cure.
Again, 1 million times. Well done. We're going to come to what next for you, but I'll go on Zoom where Eric Bwedi Sampon, who also is in a teaching career from 2012 and later assumed leadership at Ataniata DA Primary School, where he revived a collapsing institution. He increased enrollment from 13 to 100 students and established a junior high school with a 100% BEC pass rate for 3 consecutive years. His infrastructure project includes a 3-unit classroom block, a 14-bedroom teacher bungalow, and a mechanized borehole serving both the school and the surrounding community. Eric, congratulations on your award. But tell me how you are as well feeling 2 days after this recognition.
Thank you, MFA. I really appreciate the opportunity. And it feels so good, so great. And right now I feel like, being in a longing smell with a fragrance. I mean, it's so good. The calls, the vibes, those that are calling, it's so great, it's so great, it's so great.
Well, Eric, from 13 to 100, that is really significant. I mean, why not anything else? I appreciate that you're a teacher, but why not anything? Why did you intend to want to go into such a huge project?
Well, you see, I delight joy seeing other people smile. And so in 2013, when I was reposted to Ataniata as a young teacher, I went there and I saw that there was a school without teachers, school without chairs, school without teachers' bungalows, a school without learners. And the tension between this Fulani herdsmen and then a native was so intense that parents feared to send their children to school. So on that day, I asked myself, if not me, then who? And then if not this time, when? So I began to search for learners. I combed around the various nearby villages to search for learners. And indeed, I had 13 to start with.
Okay.
And it has been that till now we have 120. That is what I can say for now.
That is a lot. It's not what you can say. That is a lot that you have done. I'll come to you to ask what's next for you. What do you want to do more with this recognition? What kind of support are you looking for? But I'm back in the studio here. Makia, tell me, what next? I mean, I'm just reading and I can see that in 2023 alone, a little over 500 families received transport support. And as well, a little over 300 children received treatment. And numbers, 527 access diagnosis and all of that. That is very impressive. But what next would you like to do?
How much time do you have? So one of our big challenges is space.
Right.
If you've been to see us spot in Kolebu. I mean, space is a luxury. Currently in Kolebu, which we work from and also Kolebu, we have a 24-bed ward. But mind you, every year we get a little over 250 new cases, plus existing cases. Oh. So, you can have traffic up to about 1,000 people, children, coming through this same 24-bed ward. We have a daycare. It's an oncology daycare where they come for treatment, chemotherapy, and go home. Now, the daycare is now converted into a ward. And so in 2023, or 2023, we cut sod and started the construction of a new standalone wing for pediatric oncology. It's a 40-bed entire center that would treat, hold, have isolation, have canteens, have meeting room, research areas. So would be able to have a dedicated spot for our children, a safe place where they can call home, because the treatment is long.
It is.
A safe place they can call home. Currently in Kolebu, even if a mother wants a place to cry, you can't get it.
Oh my God.
That's how intense it is, a place to rest. But this would be an entire suite that would hold our children. Our nurses and doctors can have a quieter place, safe places. So it's really going to increase the outcomes. I mean, right now, if we're doing 280 children, new cases a year, we can go to 600 because we have the space. Yeah. And we are at the roof. Total project cost is $1.6 million. So far, we have raised $458,000. We've been great. We're so grateful to support from companies and individuals who have supported us on this journey so far. Enterprise Group Limited gave us our seed capital. Gasem gave us all our cement. Nidomet has donated the roof. VPL Concrete gave us some concrete, So it's both cash and in kind. Now we've come to a point where we're stuck. We've got to finish this project. And the same way, partners and friends joined us in the beginning, we're still calling on people to support us and complete it. Childhood cancer is really a lot closer than we think,
And I think you have the prettiest smile. Nobody will say no to you.
You think?
And so I'm certain they're watching you. How can they, be part of this project? You've mentioned both in kind and in cash, but how can one be part of this project?
Go to our website. There's so much information on our website. You can always reach us from our website. We have a payment channel on there. If you want to do small, that's great. If you want to do great, big one, get in touch. We'll have a conversation. We have, so someone else, I can't do big. Can I do small? Of course you can. If you have 20 cities, 70 cities, 100 cities, you can do, we have a short code, *887 *2#.
Okay.
Give as much as you can. It adds up. Momo 0555 751377. But we're very, very open. Reach out to us. Come visit and see what we do. See where your money goes, and see, the project, and be a part of it. And
I'm not done with you. Stay with me. I'm going back on Zoom, and let me engage Eric. Eric, and so what's the future looking like for you? Did I lose Eric?
Well, the future is going to be great. It's going to be bigger. We are going to get from our incoming partners and other things. I think we're going to open up our wings and then go extra mile to support the less privileged. What we are going to do is that we are not going to do it alone, because whatever I've done in the past, I didn't do it alone. I mean, I had the support
the network
from another one village. It's an angel. Yeah, and so we are going to open up our wings to scale up, especially the school feeding program.
Okay.
We have been doing it occasionally, but right now, I think with some support that will come from elsewhere, we are going to do it the normal way that every school is having. And so we are going to scale it up, and then also see to it that there are going to be some mechanized boreholes in other communities. I mean, we are going to open up our wings. We are going to open up our wings, and then to make sure that the world looks a better place for all of us, not just good, but a better place for all of us to live in.
I mean, Eric, somebody's watching you and they're wondering, oh my God, I'm waiting to be a little big before I can make that change or impact lives. What do you have to say to them?
Oh, that person shouldn't wait. There's nothing so small. I mean, you can start something, and then with a little drops of water, you can make a mighty ocean. So you shouldn't wait. Just start little. Who knows? Maybe you may get help somewhere along the line. So I would urge the person to start something quickly to impact life. It's going to be recognized, as you have been recognized as grassroots impact makers. So I'm sure gradually the person is going to be recognized. Yeah.
That's amazing. And how can we find you?
Well, I'm in Kwewu, and if you come to Kwewu, the education office, and then you ask of Ataniata Eric, I mean, my director would confidently and then happily direct you to my end, and then everything will be good. I'm in Kwewu, so anyone who wants to support what we are doing can come straight to the education office at Kwewu East District, and then we can start from there.
Eric, some people are afraid of the mountains. If we don't want to come there physically, how can we reach you? Is there a number, website, anyway, anyhow we can reach you, at least to support?
No, for now, that is the only source that I would
go to the GES. Okay.
Yes, go to the GES.
All right. Yeah. Eric, congratulations to you again.
Thank you very much, MFA, and thank you to JoyNews for championing and amplifying our stories. I mean, and thank you to all impact makers. God bless them, and God bless you as well.
God bless you too. Okay, you have the last minute. So, I mean, tell us, you've told us how we can support you, but somebody watching you, how can you encourage them to at least as well start? Of course, we're not waiting for them to face the challenge you faced first, but what can you say to people watching you?
So let me end by saying childhood cancer is real, but it's also curable. And let me just use just 2 seconds. So unfortunately with childhood cancer, the symptoms don't show like the adult cancers. So that's why we always have such late case presentations. But we have an acronym called SILUAN, S-I-L-U-A-N. S stands for seek immediate attention if there are any symptoms you don't understand. With childhood cancer, it's all about persistent symptoms. So a child would have a persistent cough, a persistent temperature spike, seek immediate attention. I is for eye, any changes in the eye.
Okay.
So whiteness in the eye, new squints, weepy eyes, bulging eyes. It could be a sign of eye cancers. L is for lumps, any part of the body, even if it's painless and it moves. It could be an early sign of childhood cancer. U for any unexplained symptoms, so dizziness, vomiting, headaches that don't stop, feverish and night sweat. A is for any aches and pains in the body. Children don't normally have aches in their bodies, so if they complain of pain in their leg, in their bones, it could be a sign of cancer. And N is neurological symptoms. So children who don't fulfill their milestones.
Okay.
You know, they're 3 years old, they're still not walking, it could be a problem. Vomiting, early morning vomiting, not early, vomiting actually, projectile vomiting.
Okay.
It could be a sign. Children who bump into things when they walk, you expect them to be walking. So look out for signs that are odd, that are symptoms that you can't explain. Seek immediate attention. Childhood cancer is curable, but early detection makes all the difference. So.
Thank you so much, and I pray that you keep this smile on, and wishing you all the best. Thank you as well for joining us today on The Pulse. My name is Emefa Akosia Adeti. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Thank you for watching.